We are going to pass this on to um, a new speaker stepping onto the summit with us, which I am so excited for. But we're also going to bring back a living legend that we all love to call Papa Rob or Dr. Rob. This guy has become a beautiful brother slash mentor of mine. He always loves to pour into everybody that he knows. He is one of the biggest supporters that everybody that comes into contact with him. He also is not only a dear friend, he's a beautiful mentor that will call me out on my crap when I am doing something. And there are not many people that get to do that in my life because I get defensive. But when Dr. Rob does that, I don't really argue with him. I got to spend a week on a cruise with this guy, and I listened to everything he said, and I'm glad I did because I didn't fall off the ship. Meredith Sobus, I got to hang out with as well on the cruise, and that was a amazing time because I only got to see and talk to her through Zoom meetings, and that was absolutely epic. And when Dr. Rob reached out to me on Tuesday night and said, "Hey, would you mind if Meredith and I did a tag team thing?" I said, "What is Peyton Manning a former Denver Bronco?" I was like, "Absolutely, I want Meredith on the summit." So, with that being said, Dr. Rob and Meredith, welcome to the summit, Meredith, and welcome back to the summit, Dr. Rob. The summit is all yours.
Thanks, David, and thanks for your kind words. Very thoughtful of you. I haven't been called beautiful yet this morning, so I'm feeling pretty good about myself all of a sudden. So there you go. Hey, you never know. Uh, I am very excited to let you know, some of you know, but I live in San Diego, and I've been doing for the last 2 years now a ton of research, talking to and researching mindset issues, specifically with the Navy SEALs and those SEAL mindsets. Because if you can even imagine how they prepare and what they're going into, and they know we're going to win. Okay, now that doesn't mean that they don't come out of it with PTSD and traumatized and everything else. They do. But what do they do to prepare themselves for that moment? And how do they, once they're through some traumatic event, begin to say, okay, I've got to right size this thing. Okay, Dr. Rob doesn't matter anymore because there's a beautiful little girl all of a sudden. So, hi, sweetheart. Can you tell I'm a papa too? Let's go, baby. Uh, uh, she doesn't see me, but anyway, Papa Rob. Okay, here we go. Navy SEALs. And so some information came out recently, specifically when they're training for BUDS. BUDS is the basic underwater demolition. And what that's talking about is that's the 6 months that you go through, and then they go through. We're all familiar with Hell Week, and that's the last one where you ring the bell. Did you know they've had some BUDS classes that started with over 100? These are the baddest of the baddest dudes that ended up with zero passing. No one passed. I mean, that's how crazy this thing really is. And they're preparing them for that kind of trauma. What do they do? There's three things that they really concentrate on that I want to share today. First time I've shared this research because I've been doing it more recently. And I thought, you know what? Certainly where David's going with the summit wanted to do that. First one has to do with self-talk, self-talk. Okay, positive self-talk. Now, I am not a big positive self-talker because I see how it's done. It's like, I am great. I am capable. I am lovable. I'm going to look in the mirror. I'm going to do my affirmations. And I just want to throw up every time I'm doing that. It's just not me. It's like, whoa, whoa, whoa. I don't believe it because I have to live with me. B, while some of that is true, at the same time, that does nothing to help me get into a right frame of mind. Guess how they do it with the Navy SEALs? Isn't this interesting? Listen to this. Number one thing they do with positive self-talk is they use what they call distant, distant language. Distant language. It's never an I am, I can, because what happens so often is if you're saying, I can get through this, and then you're going through it and you're like, no, I can't after all. And so the I, it's like, we will allow ourselves to fail or to quit or something like that. But if somebody else is right next to you and they're saying something, you talk to yourself, that positive self language, it's in a second person. It's Rob can do this, or you can do this. Or if it's like, if I were talking to Meredith in this situation, I'd go, Meredith, you're so awesome. Come on, you can do this. And she goes, no, I can't. And she fails. I'm like, yeah, oh yeah, you can. Okay, that was the first try. What'd you learn? Okay, let's keep going. Okay, let's keep going. If somebody else is encouraging you, you'll do far better and you'll give it far more effort and you'll try far more than if it's just you yourself doing it. So they use what's called distant language. Specifically, when they're using that kind of language, they replace the word try with the word do. They don't say try. I'm going to try to do this. They're saying, oh, I'm going to do this. Oh, I failed. That's all right. I'm going to do it. Oh, I messed up again. Oh, that's okay. I'm going to do it. I'm not trying to do something. I'm going to do something. It's just how do you get that done? And if I sit there and say, I'm going to try, that's something. If I'm saying, come on, Meredith, you're doing this, then it's something totally different. First one is positive self-talk. Second one they use is interesting. It's visualization. Visualization. And it's, what is this going to look like, smell like, feel like when I'm successful in it? Now with them, it's going to feel like hell, smell like hell, it's going to, but they enter into all of that ahead of time when they're going out and they're getting hypothermia. What is that water actually going to feel like? It's going to be so freezing cold. What are my teeth going to be doing? What's my brain going to be doing? How am I going to do when my extremities shut down and all so thinking about that, feeling that, working through that ahead of time, positive self-talk, but from distant language, second person language. And then the second one, thinking through this and kind of going, okay, now let's take an example. David, who's called us all together, Joey dies. It ruins his whole life. He's traumatized by that. And he will tell you that some of the things that he did were probably effective and other things were really ineffective. And he went off the deep end. Kept going to the dark side, and there was this pattern. And so that's why he's called us together, because he's finally come to this place where he wants to see other people like us get victory in some of those areas. How about this? David, you are really hurting, but you have got this. What's that going to look like? It's going to look like hell. What's it going to feel like when I'm laying in bed crying? What's it going to smell like when the first time I smell something that smells like Joey? What's it going to, all of those types of things, preparing your mind ahead of time. Hey, the last one, guess what it is? This is so crazy. It's breathing. Every year, Michael's got something like, okay, we're going to do some breathing exercise. And I always go, this is the stupidest thing ever. And then they play some gongs and have some cool music, and I do their stupid breathing exercises, and I feel 1,000% better. And it's like, okay, I'm not going to say it works, but it was really cool. Did you know this? If you're a Navy SEAL and you are in a gunfight and you're behind a rock and there's bullets ricocheting off your rock, and it's not a place where you can jump up and shoot right now, what are you going to do when you're there? They teach them to do box breathing. Just 4 seconds in, hold it for 4 seconds, slowly out for 4 seconds, hold that, 4 seconds back in. And they say as soon as you can feel your chest expand and your chest go down, you're like, okay, I'm in a gunfight. Those guys are going to lose. Ready? Say goodnight, dude. That type of thing. And so 3 things to stop the trauma and prepare you for the next step. Number 1, it's the positive self-talk, but it has to be a second person. You can do this. Rob can do this. Having practiced this, believe it or not, I find it easier for me if I say, Rob can do this. Rob can't. No, I can't. No, Rob can. And so it's something, me saying my own name, that seems really weird to me, but it works. Replace, I'm not going to try, I'm going to do it. And then what are you going to do? I'm going to visualize everything. The last thing I'm going to do is as soon as I keep getting traumatized, I'm going to go right back to that breathing and jump right back in again. Okay, now you've been through that trauma. You're at this place where it's like, oh my goodness, okay, I'm ready to take those next steps. I'm ready to get back out there. What's that going to feel like? How do I do that? How do I present myself to the world again? And that is what the lovely Meredith specializes in. And she was helping me so much in some of these areas. And as we were talking, I thought she would be awesome to work on this part. And so, Meredith, over to you.
Thank you. That was wonderful. I'm going to show off my nerdiness for a moment and reference Yoda. Do or do not. There is no such thing as try. Um, but Dr. Rob helped us with our internal work. So let's think a little bit more about our external work and how can we show up in the world with hope for the future. And we can start with some personal branding. And so your personal branding is this sweet spot where your reputation, which is how people perceive you to be, is overlapping with your expression, which is the messaging that you're amplifying out into the world. This isn't just about social media you everywhere you go, which means it's in the casual conversations with new friends. It comes up at networking events. It shows up at dinner parties, in meetings. It's everywhere. Everywhere. That means every interaction that you have is ability to shape how people perceive you. And so typically when I'm working with someone for the first time on their personal brand, it comes up, wow, putting myself out there totally freaks me out. And unfortunately, if expression is 50% of the personal brand equation, that means it's too important for you to skip. So if putting yourself out there a little bit more has some fear that comes up, I want you to think about this story about a king. So in 6th century BC Rome, there is a king, and his name was King Tarquin, and he had a beautiful garden. And in this garden was a poppy field. And so imagine rows upon rows upon rows of these beautiful poppy flowers, these big bright blooms. And one day, King Tarquin went on a walk with his son. Now they were walking in silence, and as they're walking through these rows of flowers, King Tarquin stopped because he saw a poppy. Now, this poppy was in peak bloom, standing tall and proud above the rest of the poppies in the field. And he all of a sudden stuck his hand out and cut off the head of the flower. That's actually the story, the metaphor behind what we call tall poppy syndrome or TPS. And TPS is what psychologists define as the cultural inclination to tear others down that we perceive to be more successful than ourselves. Wow. So, people who are more successful than us, these are highly visible people. They are wealthy or they're achieving wealth, just any kind of barometer to success. It's our inclination culturally to be like, you're out of here. We got to tear you down and knock you down a peg. So, this is exactly why personal branding feels risky, right? You're actively choosing to be more visible and to stand taller than the rest. And TPS tells us that's dangerous. So, that fear of putting yourself out there is valid. I mean, there's a cultural phenomenon named after people tearing us down. However, I left something out. There's a small college in Australia that did a study in 2019 about tall poppy syndrome. And they found that there is a secret to personal branding that does not trigger TPS. Are you ready for it? We are considerably less likely to tear someone down if they possess two qualities: warmth and competence. So, what does that mean? Well, if someone possesses warmth, that is how we perceive their intentions to be towards ourselves. So, are they hostile? Are they friendly? Are they somewhere in between? And competence is the ability for someone to achieve their own goals in the world. And that usually comes up as intelligence and skill level. So I want to have a doodle break. If you have a piece of paper in front of you, I'd like you to draw a square with two lines that cross in the middle. So you basically have a box with 4 squares in it. All right, on the top of the box, we're going to go across the first row. On the top of the box, I want you to write the word low. And then the box on the right, I want you to write the word high. And then as we go down the left column, the top box is going to say the word low, and the bottom box is going to say the word high. And then, of course, we need labels. So the row on the top, we're going to label warmth, and the row or the column on the left, we're going to label competence. Now, there's this psychologist named Fisk, and he and all of his researcher friends got together and they studied and found the 4 emotions that are evoked in other people based on how you rate with warmth and competence if you are successful. So if you score low on competence and low on warmth and you're successful, the emotion that you are evoking out of people is contempt. That is not a good emotion. If you are scoring high on competence but low on warmth, people perceive you to be cold. And therefore, the emotion that you're evoking from them is envy. Well, that's an emotion that's definitely going to trigger some tall poppy syndrome. Now, if you score high on warmth but low on competence, people find you lovable but not capable, and therefore they pity you. That's not a good one either. So the one that we really want is if you score high on warmth and high on competence, people will admire you. So if you want to build your personal brand, you have to develop both warmth and competence, and then you have nothing to fear about other people cutting you down because they'll admire you. And so if you want to work on warmth, that means you have to start with all of your interactions with other people. They need to be honorable. You have to be able to be held accountable. You need to be sincere, consistently prove your trustworthiness. You have to show people that your intentions are good. And the second is competence. So you have to prove that you're a credible source, that most of you are on the topic you already specialize in. So that shouldn't be a toughie. So for example, our host David has experienced deep loss. David, I'm so sorry about the loss of your brother Joey. And in that though, you are now very much a credible source on the topic of grief. You've experienced it firsthand. And so for the rest of you, what is your expertise? And how do you know what others might need? And with that, you've now heard from Dr. Rob, you've heard from me. So Dr. Rob, back to you. You're going to pull it all together for us.
Okay, I was thinking warmth and competence. I vary between those. I think I'm usually always warm. Competence, I've done the work. My reputation's good. At the same time, I still deal with imposter syndrome once in a while. Even somebody like me who's done it, been there, been in all the big rooms when I ran John Maxwell stuff. And can you imagine you're sitting in that room and you're just kind of going, what am I doing here? You know, I hope they don't realize who I really am, you know, that type of thing. At the same time, I find out they're all feeling the same exact way that I am. And so people have this sense of this insecurity on the inside. When all of a sudden we've gone through a traumatic situation, we've steadied the ship. And now I think the parts that I loved is that whole idea of warmth and competence, that you can bloom, you can get out there, you can be great. If you're warm and competent, people will love that about you. But then at the same time, Meredith, you said, but it's hard for you to get out there. Okay, you're warm, you're competent. Why is that hard for you sometimes?
Well, I think it's exactly what you're talking about with the imposter syndrome, right? It's so hard for us to believe I can do this. But if you talk about the self-talk that you were talking about with the distant language, you can do this. Rob, you can get out there. Rob, you can start talking more about the things you have knowledge in. But I know you've done a lot more study on imposter syndrome than I have. So do you have any studies up your sleeve?
I do. Yeah, one that nobody's heard of, and it came out of Yale. So I don't know why everybody hasn't heard of it, but they haven't. It was a study on imposter syndrome that was actually with new physicians doing their rounds, brand new doctors. And they had some that just kind of went in super confident, did all their stuff. Others who were like, what am I even doing here? I'm in charge of this person's life. I don't know what to do. And so what they did is they asked the first thing that they did is they looked at the results of being treated. The results of being treated were about the same, very high on both of them. You know, so the things they were doing worked. Here's what was so interesting. Which one did the patients like more? They liked the people who had imposter syndrome. You know why? Because the ones who had imposter syndrome, they were kind of going like, well, I'm not really sure what to do. How are you feeling? What about you? And it came out as empathy to the patients. And so do you want to be cocky or you want to be empathetic? Empathetic, that's going to be pretty high on the warmth scale. Cocky, going to be pretty low on that warmth scale. And so it was just amazing when that study came out. I'm like, oh my goodness, there are some good sides to the imposter syndrome, number one. Number two, Rob will never, I will never over, but Rob will. Come on, Rob, you can do this. I know. Isn't that funny how that distant talk, it just sounds different in our head when we receive it. So mentioned today, and then we're going to take any questions that you guys have on any of this. As you can see in the background, I'm in our corporate office down in Dallas today. And I jumped out of a meeting and I stole somebody's office here. Privilege of jumping in with you guys, but sure my boss is kind of going like, hello, it's 9:30 thing. But thankfully I told him 40 I'd be back in there. So I'm going to just try to get it to 9:35. Last thing I want to share. Now that you're out there, you were talking to people, how do you get them to actually want to do business with you? Come up with this little list. Here it is. I tend to be pretty good helping these types of people. And then you're explaining it in a way that people aspire to. Let me give you an example with what Meredith was saying, because of her personal branding and her great prowess, and she's so good at that. She could say, I help people who are truly authentic, learn how to communicate in a way that feels good to them and is attractive to others. Okay, now notice as soon as she says it that way, someone's going to say, how? How do you do that? That's the magic question. On every one of these, you have to get them to say how. When they say how, that's the magic word. Say, well, I'd love to jump on a call with you if you'd like to do that. And that's the time when you can, and I don't want to make this sound bad or salesy, but that's the time when you could close them, you'd be able to work with them. Okay, so first thing that you're going to have to do on that is you're going to get out there and I help blank do blank. And with that, for me, I help executives who want to move up the ladder but seem stuck finally achieve the purpose that they always hope for. That's what I do. That's who I am. That's what I've been working on. That's my little corner of the world. I walked into this office today. I'm in Dallas, and a guy comes up and goes, Dr. Rob, hey, I can't believe I ran into you. Can I talk to you for a minute? It's a guy I did that same thing with that type of coaching 6 years ago. And he goes, remember all that stuff we worked on? Yeah. And he's had a phenomenal career since then. He's got promoted. He's got his big office, his big team and all that. And he goes, but I'm starting to feel I hate this place again. And I'm like, okay, that's an issue. Let's talk about that. And so I'm going to go back to doing that. Well, I only have one goal with him. I want him to go all the way back to, hey, you can do this, and I help blank do blank. What is it that you do and that you do so well? And when he's operating in that, you can't help but smile. You want to help people. You want to be gracious with your time. So I'm going to cut it off there. If there's any questions, we can take them. I'm sorry, I'm going to have to jump out a little early, but here's what I do want to tell you. Who loves you? You know it's Papa Rob. And so Dave's got my contact information. I really do love serving and working with people, and anyone in his family, I will help any way I can. So.
Absolutely, y'all. Anybody that wants to connect with Dr. Rob, let me know, and we'll get that set up with him. But let's get to the VIP room really quick so he can bounce out and get back to his meeting. So Dr. Rob, Meredith, who's got questions for these two beautiful people?
No questions, but I just love this little duo.
No, we're so cute, aren't we?
You guys are two of
I
my
know.
most favorite people.
Yeah, no, it's just so fun. It's like I feel like she's helped me so much, but she's become a daughter in doing it. And so I'll be sitting there and laugh and start going off on some tangent. My wife will walk by and go, "Are you talking to Meredith?" And I'm like, "Yeah." She says, "Oh, tell her I said hi." And so it's just fun because I communicate with her the same way I would more with a daughter. And she's a very, very helpful daughter. How's that?
Well, she's my little sister, so
Well, there you go.
I'm your adopted daughter now too.
Well, let's go, baby. Yeah, the big sister. Yay.
Anybody else, so he can get back to his super busy day? And Meredith can too, because I know she's always busy because she's always.
And we just love you guys.
Oh, thank you.
And happy holidays.
Yay. Merry Christmas, everyone.
Merry Christmas.
And I think some of you know this, but all of our kids are adopted. And somebody asked me, how many kids do you have? And I really don't know. I think it's 6. But when I say I don't know, I think 3 are legally adopted, but I think 6 are in the will. So if you're in my will, then you're one of my kids, and I'm gonna love you enough to 3 hugs and a kick in the rear, be a dad to you. So it's a lot of fun. All right. Hey, so much love, Meredith. Any questions that I was going to answer, you'll answer them way better anyway. And so hit up Meredith on anything. I love, though, how do you get out there with warmth and competence? That was beautiful. Thank you, guys.
Thanks,
Much love.
Dr. Rob. Love you, bro.
Much love. Take care. Bye-bye.
All right, let's bring up the living legend herself, Miss Meredith. You know, when I say she knits things, she is an amazing knitter, but she's also a marketing genius and a business builder genius. So does anybody have anything that she would love to say to the amazing, talented, beautiful Meredith?
Wow, thank you.
You're welcome. Going
I
once?
love you. Thank you. Happy holidays.
Go ahead, Deb.
Meredith, how did you get into what you do?
Wow, that's a great question. So, in the beginning of college, I actually went in for public policy leadership. I thought that I was going to do government work, and it turns out that I found the most fascinating piece of all of that to be the campaigns in which people run to get elected into office. So that kind of sent some alarm bells off in my head that said, hey, wait a second, maybe it's not the government piece, maybe it's the marketing piece. And I've been really fortunate to have some people in my life that are powerhouses in marketing that I was able to speak to at 18 and say, hey, I'm thinking about this. What do you think? And can I ask you some questions? And the rest is kind of history. So I have some experience in corporate America, and then we've gone on to start Sobus Consulting, which is a business and marketing consulting firm. And it's been really wonderful. So a little hodgepodge here and there.
Yeah, I got to learn a lot of things about Meredith, so that's just the tip of the iceberg, y'all. So get ready. She's quite amazing at a lot of things. So, Meredith, yeah, thank you for jumping in. I mean, this was absolutely epic. I love having you a part of this, and hopefully, we'll get you on more summits. Now that I know you're willing to do this, you haven't heard this before, and I shared this yesterday, and Hummel knows this, and Hurley knows this, and Faber knows this. A lot of people know this about me, and now you're going to know this. The Vrablic is like a fungus. Once you get to know me, you can never get rid of me. And so I will be reaching out for future summits. So
as your personal brand helper, I'm going to say maybe associate yourself with something less negative, but
I know.
I'm good with it, and thank you, Leon.
Oh, you're very
He's
welcome.
tried. That's the most positive we've come up with.
I know. I got to get better at it. I've been saying that since I was in high school. So 25 years later, it's kind of hard to get rid of. But absolutely loved having you on the summit with us, Meredith. You know, have that smile that just brightens up the mountainside, just like Martha, you know, just like all the lovely ladies that we've had on the summit. Can't wait to see you in the near future at another future event. Thank you for jumping in and being a part of this. You know, stick around if you can, or tune in on Facebook. And